went on with their life. So literally weeks went on at this point without anything happening after that. They basically completely forgot about the whole situation, but summer was at that point coming to a close, and it was the last couple of days at their camp. Basically at the end of summer, they held this late night party type of thing where they hosted all kinds of fun things to do in this recreation center, which was located in the park where the camp was held. It really wasn't that late at all. According to the submitter, it was probably only around 9 o'clock at night, but still late enough to where it was obviously dark. So it was a medium-sized recreational room. It was the biggest building in the entire park, and inside was the place where it was mostly just the music, just a general dance party type environment. The submitter and their friends were mostly hanging around the punch and the snack table, and everything was just going as to plan and great. Until the submitter got a buzz on their phone, and so they checked it to their not-so-happy surprise. It was Jack. Direct messaging him again through YouTube. Now this time it was not cryptic or inconcise. It was very direct. "I do not appreciate you ignoring me." The submitter's name. "I can see you through the window. Come out and meet me. I have a better party you can go to." To their own recount, everything started going quiet. They started feeling the sensation of tunnel vision, lightheadedness, and like everything was closing around them upon reading this message, as what you would imagine would happen. Their heart literally accelerated from 0 to 60 in 0 seconds. Now, the entire room did have a bunch of windows that were facing one wall, which basically looked out to the parking lot. This is not like a rural area or anything like that, so it's not like there can't be anyone around to have witnessed some weirdo just spying on a bunch of kids during this party. But they looked outside the window to see the parking lot barely illuminated by the parking lot lights and then the street lights of the street that was behind the parking lot. And they saw literally no one there. Not a single car parked in the parking lot. No one standing around in the parking lot or any other place. They were looking through the window, which was in a particular dark corner of the party. This way they would feel more hidden or secure when they looked out. There's just nothing out there. But obviously, this submitter was not going to take any chances because clearly at this point this individual had demonstrated the fact that they now know where they are and therefore pose a physical threat in real life. So they showed one of the camp counselors, one of the female camp counselors, this message on their phone, told them all about it. They were decently friends with this camp counselor, so they knew each other quite well. And aside from the cliche type thing where you think in a movie they would just dismiss it or make some funny excuse, "Oh, that's nothing, don't worry about it, whatever." No, they actually took it seriously, as you would imagine they should, and they went outside with a couple camp counselors as well, with flashlights, looking around while the rest of the party continued. And they took quite a while to even get back. Longer than what you would imagine or have expected, as what the submitter said. And when they came back, they basically said, "Oh, nothing was there, it was all clear, just go back to having fun and everything's all fine." So that's exactly what they did. And they said it pretty convincingly, but the submitter did notice that there was something weird about the way they said it. Maybe
the film begins with a man playing a violin with inaudible conversations in the background.
When they said it,
this is a real contrast to the promotional material for the film, which usually shows
when after this person had graduated high school and they were just wandering and they met the camp counselor in the streets again. They actually were in mid-conversation when this camp counselor told him what actually happened, and they were out in the park looking around with their flashlights with the other counselors. And at one point, after searching around for about a couple minutes, they aimed their flashlights at a fence, and they just saw, for a brief second, someone's leg hopping over the fence for literally only 1 second. So because of this, obviously that proves that someone was there. But they waited until the party was over. It was already getting close to being over anyways to call the police. The police came and they did an investigation. They didn't find anything except for the slightly dented fence where someone had clearly hopped over it. Of course, the police never give you a satisfying ending. No offense, police. But that's it. Little did this submitter know that they were just to be one of the many, far too many, victims and encounterers of the user by the name of Jack. Very disturbing stuff. But just wait till we see what's behind door number 2. Also known as story number 2. This was submitted by a person by the name of Keely, who is a female. So basically they started off with this story being quite blunt about it. Hello, my name is Keely, and I was stalked by an account named Jack for 4 years. So this was all started back when Keely used to upload their essays and video projects for their college course to YouTube in order to be able to share it with their teachers. And also they said that they thought that it wouldn't be too much harm and also maybe even getting some views on them if she was lucky. But she doesn't think that way now. So all throughout her online college courses for history and literature, there would be video essays, kind of like video reports, that she would make, upload to her channel, and she had lots of these on her channel, just publicly posted them, and sometimes they got some decent amount of views, but most of the time they just didn't get any views, maybe a couple comments, mostly of which would be her friends, and sometimes a teacher was commenting on them as well. But once again, we come back to her remembering a very specific day, because it was the very day that it would be the beginning of her life starting to go downhill for 4 straight years. It was October 14th, 2015. So she had uploaded a literature project video essay on Hamlet, which she was about to submit to one of her teachers through the online course, when she got a comment on the video, because of course, she uploaded all her videos as public. And the comment was by the name of Jack. Nice video. Wanna talk? So by what Keely described, she was more aware of what the profile picture was. It was an artistic depiction of Jack the Ripper, a 19th century serial killer. So she didn't really know how to reply to this because it was kind of an awkward thing to say. So she just plainly replied with a smile face and a thanks. And that was it. Now Jack replied in mere seconds after she replied to his reply, which was very startling and weird considering that it took her like 7 hours to get around to replying to his reply. Yes, we share the same interests. I too enjoy Hamlet. Would you like to discuss it? So she didn't reply to this one because, in her own words, she was not in the mood to make friends with some random internet stranger. I probably wouldn't be either, but that's kind of what I do every single day. How's it going? And she found that it was also odd the way that they phrased it, as she was interested in Hamlet, as it should have been quite obvious that she was just making a video essay on it. So nothing of drastic excitement really happened after that, except for the fact that she continued to upload her occasional video essays to the channel, and she started to notice that, subtly, every single video, she would start to receive a new comment instantaneously after being posted from Jack. With something she said scared her was her observation of how the comments started to grow more hostile and rash over time. Now they would start with something simple like, hey, I'm up to talking. Do you want to talk? Want to. Did you see what I wrote? I think I like you. I like you. I love you. Don't make me upset. Now it got so bad and annoying and disturbing that she decided to just outright disable all the comments on all of her videos. Finally, someone makes a good choice. And she also didn't care that much about her channel anyway, so it didn't really matter too much. Literally all she used it for was to just share the videos to her professor so she would have it graded that way. And that's exactly how things started to escalate. The professor was the person who would start noticing these comments right before she disabled them, and talked to her about it one day, saying that he thought it was very bizarre and very strange. And he suggested to just straight up private all the videos, if not even delete her entire YouTube channel, and from that point on just submit them personally through email. So that's exactly what she started doing. She privated all the videos on her channel. She was no longer making any public videos. Now what the submitter specifically told the professor that she thought was the most disturbing was how she started receiving comments from Jack similar to lines of, I like you, sweetie. Your voice is cute. When she literally never showed her voice or face, and her channel name was just that of her old gaming username. Which means there could have really been no way that anyone should have known who she was at all. But unfortunately, regardless of this, it was just the start. The instant that she privated all of her videos, almost by the day, she started receiving envelopes in her physical location mailbox full of these printed out and cut pieces of comments which were by the same username. And each envelope was sent to her address every single week on the same day, Saturday, and they would all be signed her name at the front of the letter in cursive writing. Now, these letters were full of these comments, 20 to 50 each one, as she said. Now, these comments were the exact same type of thing. Each one was different but similar, like, hey, hello, how are you? Where are you? Don't do this. Come back. I miss you. I love you. Do you see me? Hi, sweetie. Don't ignore me. Okay, what the frick? Nah, sorry, I'm moving to a different planet. Sorry, Elon Musk, take me to Mars right now. So every Saturday she would expect a new envelope to be sent, like clockwork it was. She would get a new letter full of these comments, and obviously she never shared her name or address anywhere on the internet, so... And she also didn't alert the authorities about any of this happening because she didn't perceive any real threat at that given time, despite it being very weird. Well, you were almost on a good roll. You were making some good choices, but now I don't know what you're doing. Now, the same thing started happening. Over time, every single week, the hostility and hastefulness of the comments in these envelopes would start to gradually increase. This person was literally commenting somewhere, printing the page out, cutting it 20 to 50 times, putting them all in these envelopes every week. And this kept happening for 3 years. Not a single day off was ever missed. Every Saturday for 3 years. Now this person eventually straight up moved out with her boyfriend to an entire another state. After she had graduated from college and started her career, she had collected these hundreds of comments in these dozens of letters and basically just piled them up in this trash corner in the new garage in her new house. An entirely different place far away. After that, it had been a whole 6 months since she had received any letters, and that was a 6-month period of grace, or maybe even you could describe the eye of the storm. And also, it just happened that she was walking past this stack of old letters from Jack that she didn't even throw away for some reason, or report to anyone. She started getting a lot of anxiety again. Only a couple days after that, it was exactly Saturday, once more she received a very beat-up Amazon-looking package made out of cardboard, put together with masking tape and staples, with once again the same cursive writing written on the top of it, with her name, Keely. It was really light, didn't seem like there was much in it. She opened it up, and inside of this package it was a Polaroid picture snapped with one of those disposable cameras or something like that that you could get from anywhere for only like $10 or something. And it was a picture of the outside of her house from her backyard, not front yard, at night, with seemingly the center of it being her window where she slept. On the other side of this Polaroid picture was yet another cut and pasted comment from Jack, simply saying, "I love when they run." Burn the house down. I got chills. You know that? That's involuntary. It's probably one of the actually most disturbing things on this entire series. This is the season finale. Now, it was at this point where it was obviously the last straw, and Keely finally decided to get the police involved. Of which did nothing, of course. Well, yeah, great. Well, it was probably the wind. They couldn't do anything except take in the hundreds of envelopes in for tests, of which they found no fingerprints and no other evidence of anything anymore at all, of course. Why? Obviously not. Just the same handwritten signature from Jack. And that was the last time that this person, Keely, heard from Jack ever again. Alright! Who is Jack? Well, this was very deep and crazy. Ridiculous. I mean, what the crap? Alright, what the crap, Jack? Well, Jack seems to basically stalk someone all the way up to the point where they get the police involved, and that's usually the common stopping point between these two experiences. And there have been so many other testimonies experiences, encounters with Jack across the entire internet. These are just 2 that were sent in from frequent unsolved watchers of this channel. What we can determine out of all this is that the overall peak from all the observations of all the different encounters, and especially the time frames of these 2 stories, that the overall area of time that Jack was operating in mostly was in between 2015 and 2017. This final story going all the way up towards the beginning of 2020. Freaking crap. Now Jack has almost 5,000 subs, no videos, and no signs of ever having any. This means that this person had to have commented a lot and engaged with an unholy amount of people in this exact same way. And maybe people subbed to their channel because of all the amount of comments they saw just lingering around YouTube throughout all those years. And it's also not certain that this is the original actual Jack account. There could be plenty of others that this person behind this entire scheme could be running as backup, but this one happens to match all of the parameters, so we're gonna go with this. Now some might argue this is an early example of just a basic comment bot, considering the detail of them being able to reply and comment within only a couple seconds, which doesn't seem like a very normal thing to be able to do. But this would not at all explain the fact on how every single encounter and experience of all of this person's comments and replies are all personalized and different every single time, regardless of whether or not some
Three, two, one, go! Three, two, one.
On a Friday night yet.
Three, two, one, go! Three, two, one, go!
Guess it's time you better plug in all your nightlights. What's out there that's your darkened door? Just the eyes floating up out of the shore. Yeah, man, I'm gonna eat your girlfriend. Or maybe turn her into broth. Kill, come up, stuff them up inside of my secret meat my hand because your body's over, kill your skin off.
2, 1, go!
Getting freaky on a Friday night yet. Getting freaky on a Friday night yet. Getting freaky on a Friday night yet.
Three, two, one, go! 2, 1, go!
Kind of bot technology could make this possible. It is also speculated that because of this one account, YouTube decided to outright remove the entire direct message capability of their website, all only just because of Jack. But of course, they never said that. And now on to the more sinister aspects. The fact that this person going by the alias of Jack and having a profile picture of a 19th century serial killer who only went and killed females after stalking them isn't too much of a delightful touch. And it also should be noted that even though only the second story that we did today was submitted by a female, it was by far the longest and most dedicated example of one of Jack's stalkings. Not Jack and the Beanstalk. No, not that. Indicating that they were more than averagely interested in Keely. And another common pattern seems to arise as Jack tends to become more angered, aggressive, and even starts to begin behavior of physically stalking someone in real life after they ignore one of their comments or requests. And maybe this is something else to consider. If you don't ignore Jack, who knows what they're trying to get out of you? But if you do ignore him, well, I think these stories speak for themselves. Other than that, there's no real way to determine who exactly is behind this very disturbing and soul-staring profile. And out of all of the other encounters with the incidents of this account, not really any seem to be within the last 2 to 3 years. So it's really not known what the ultimate intention of whoever was running the Jack account is, whether it's to lure people, abduct them, or just to scare. It's quite clear that, at least from these 2 stories, there is a real person behind it, who was at one point at large on YouTube as one of the most prevalent and dangerous serial stalkers. The fact that a common conversation on the internet can result in a person following and watching you in the darkness is enough to personally make me want to wear pull-ups again. And as far as we know, Jack still exists to this day, but remains quiet. So with all of that being covered, this mystery is still unsolved. And yeah, that is the mystery behind Jack. So, that's really all I wanted to cover in this episode. This was the season finale of Season 2 of YouTube Unsolved. If you see a user by the name of Jack, well, I can't really say what to do. You can't ignore him, but if you do talk to him, who knows what's gonna go wrong. And, I mean, this guy could be like an FBI trying to figure out maybe these people who submit these stories secretly are committing crimes. I'm not going to accuse you of anything. But anyways, that is the entire episode. Hopefully you didn't get too disturbed by it. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. This was YouTube Unsolved, Season 2. Goodbye.
One word. Animal Crossing.
Getting tricky on a Friday night yet.
Three, two, one. Three, two, one, go! Left, right, left, right. That's how you do it. Up, down. That's how you do it. Left, up, down, right. Down, down, up. Down, down, right. Down, right, right.
I mean, what's there not to love? You got animals, you got bugs, you got fish, you got balloons, and most importantly, you got crossing! Ever since 2001 when it was released at the N64, people have loved this game. I mean, okay, so look, the original release for the N64, and people loved that version so much that it got ported to the GameCube later that year. That version got localized worldwide and is what we know today as Animal Crossing, but that localized version got retranslated back in Japanese, and that version got sold again! And people still bought the game. Why would you buy 3 copies of Animal Crossing? But why do people love it so much? Well, I think it's down to the simplistic nature of the gameplay. There is no big evil force driving you forward, no world-ending threat like other games. You make progress in Animal Crossing because you want to. You want to see your village improve, you want to better know your villagers, and you want to catch that hammerhead shark, but then you keep getting sea bass instead. Ha 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 ha, sea bass, get it? This lack of a force driving you to make progress, along with the fact that the game runs in real time, really lets you take the game at your own pace and experience it like your own little world, your own town, you could say. And I think that's a genre of game a lot of people enjoy. However, because these events were much more spread out, and since the internet was still in its infancy, even if you played Animal Crossing as much as you could, there was still a good chance you'd miss something. And obviously, this led to a lot of rumors. And so today I felt compelled to take a deeper search into what's really hiding inside Animal Crossing. But where to start? Well, where else better than the infamous iceberg itself? But hold on a second. There's 2 of them? Yes, today we're not going to be covering just one iceberg, but two. And by the end, we should have ourselves the ultimate Animal Crossing iceberg. Well, that's it for the intro. And we've got a lot to cover today, so where better to start than the tip. KK Swing. While definitely not the creepiest song we're going to be covering in this iceberg, the song definitely has its fair share of spooky elements. For example, the backwards audio used is a little unsettling. Some people have also described the song as being sad or lonely, which I fully understand, but personally, I kinda like this song. It do kinda slap though. Tom Nook is a loan shark. I mean, no matter what game you play, Tom Nook is a sneaky little bastard, but in all games, you are in debt to him the second you enter the town. However, I think this theory may stem from something else, in particular first Animal Crossing, where you had no option to deny a house upgrade, you just have to take it, regardless of what you feel. That definitely feels more like a loan shark behavior, and I think that's maybe where the theory came from. Mystery of the Snowmen. Snowmen are characters who first appeared in Wildwood and City Folk. They can be made by stacking snowballs that spawn randomly across your town on top of each other. Once you stack all the snowballs, the snowman is constructed and begins speaking? Does this mean that the player gave life to it? Or is snow sentient? Does this mean they feel pain when you walk on them? Snow is just frozen water, so is water sentient? GameCube Gyroid Face Glitch. On Animal Crossing GameCube, you can visit your friends' towns by inserting a second memory card into the system. However, if you accidentally reset the console while in a friend's town, your friend's face, no, not your friend's, your face will be changed to something much, much creepier. Your face is not the same as the gyroids, which is really eerie, especially on the GameCube. Interestingly, however, this isn't a glitch, but more of an intentional Easter egg of sorts left in by the devs to remind you to save. All I can say is if I was a kid and I saw this, I'd shit myself. City Folk Base. In Animal Crossing City Folk, on random nights after 8 PM, if you travel to the city, the cones blocking the exit may be moved, allowing you to enter a new area. The Rossetti Surveillance Center. Inside, you can talk about Rossetti and his brother Don. Their base was also in Dobutsunomori E+, where it can be found randomly when breaking rocks. This surveillance center carried over into future entries as well, being a public works project in New Leaf, but not yet in New Horizons due to the fact that Rossetti doesn't seem to be in the game. Bells are seeds. Bells are the currency of Animal Crossing and can sometimes be found by shaking trees. There's also money trees that can be grown by planting a bag of coins into a golden spot in your town. These trees grow into full trees with bells instead of fruit. That's it. That's all I got for this one. Champ is Porter's brother. Champ is a monkey villager who can live in your town, and Porter is a station worker who runs a train system in most Animal Crossing games. I mean, they're both monkeys, so they could be brothers, but it's never confirmed in the games. But then again, it's never denied either. Isabelle is overworked. Isabelle is a special dog villager who made their debut appearance in New Leaf. Isabelle is a friendly, polite, and hard-working dog and is eager to help the player in any task she can assist with. She works very hard, so it's implied that she's overworked, or at least what the community thinks. However, she did appear in Smash Bros. And also Mario Kart, so I think she's doing fine. Good Soda. Gulliver is a special flightless bird villager that can occasionally wash up in your town. He sometimes will mention that, oh god, I was partaking of a bit of the old good soda with me crew when I tumbled over the prow into the sea. Was that good? This heavily implies that good soda was alcohol of some sort. Pigeon milk. In the Roost Cafe, Brewster will ask the player wants milk in their coffee. Pigeon milk. Hold on. Oh God, no. Real Mare. In Animal Crossing New Leaf, the game begins with the player being mistakenly dubbed the mayor of the town. The next day, the player will receive a letter from the actual mayor who says that one thing led to another, and now it's up to you. We never find out in any of the games who the mayor was supposed to be, but many have speculated. Some suggest it was meant to be Rover, because when he first meets the player, he quizzes them on where they're going, and some have taken this to mean that he's trying to figure out if the player is fit to be mayor or not. While researching, I also saw people saying they remember Rover being worried and flustered about a new job he had, but going back and watching the cutscene myself, I didn't see any of this, so who is the real mayor? Well, we may never know. And with that, we finished off the tip of the iceberg, but if we want real answers, we're going to have to go a whole lot deeper. Starting off the next tier, just like the last one, with another KK song. This one is leaning a lot more towards the spooky side. The backwards notes really make this one what it is. The whole song sounds distorted and warped, cursed almost, and seeing KK stand in the corner isn't helping. And continuing on from that, we have another KK theory. KK Slider is always naked. Why do I even try? Farley. Farley is a character that appears in Animal Crossing GameCube and only appears at the fountain once the player has a perfect town. He isn't a villager, but more similar to Nook or Cap'n, as in he's a special character. Unlike them, however, exactly what Farley is unknown, although it's widely believed that he is some sort of troll, goblin, gnome thing. Some also think that his voice is the one heard when you're speaking to the fountain. Serena. Inspired by Farley, Serena is a dog villager who only appears in Animal Crossing City Folk. According to her Wikipedia page, she's a fountain goddess who appears as a statue in the fountain in the city, as well as making a physical appearance in the fountain in the player's town. God, that's a lot of fountains. She upgrades the player's axe for them, but the interesting part is the use of the term goddess. What does this mean? Is there a religion in Animal Crossing? And how powerful is Serena? Where did she come from? This is the only appearance of a god-like figure in the entire series, so it has to bring into question how weird this is. Blanca. Another weird character in Animal Crossing is Blanca. She first appeared in Animal Crossing GameCube, where she randomly shows up when visiting other towns. The first time the player meets Blanca, she has no face, and she asks him to draw a new one, which was an amazing character with absolutely no unintentional consequences whatsoever. While any idea and concept, when thinking of Blanca as a character and looking at her face without any drawings, it really gives off an unfinished or spooky vibe. Nook and Red's backstory. Tom and Nook are both shop owners in the Animal Crossing series, but apart from that, they don't have much in common, right? Wrong! While not much is known about Red's backstory, quite a bit is known about Tom Nook's. So, allow me to tell you a tale of the melancholy life of Tom Nook. Tom Nook grew up in a small town just outside the city, and he was best friends with Sable growing up. The two would climb on top of the observatory and spend the night gazing at stars together. A few years pass, and a young, bright-eyed Tom Nook decides to move to the city to become a big entrepreneur. Sable, however, couldn't follow, as she had her sisters to take care of. Tom's time in the city wasn't easy, however, as he encountered a lot of what he calls pitfalls. Despite this, Tom still wrote Sable, telling her all about his experiences in the big city, and every night Sable would pray for Tom, wishing that he could keep his spirits up while struggling to make his way. Tom's dreams of becoming a big entrepreneur never took off, and he returned to the town a changed man. One of those experiences might have involved Red, as Nook tells the player that foxes can't be trusted, and that working with Red has caused me problems in the past. Red himself is a sneaky art dealer, so maybe he organized some sort of crime, but of course, some fans have decided that a failed romance is what caused the bad blood. As fan-fiction-y as that sounds, it might not be entirely wrong, as Tom states in Wild World when referring to his time in the city, yes, I have lost more than just money, I've lost a friend. Isabelle is an alcoholic. Okay, so apparently in Japan,
Right.
Isabelle is used to
That's how you do it. Up, down, up, down. That's how you do it. Left, up, down, right. 3, 2, 1, go.
explain the difference between the words whiskey and whiskey, which, I don't know about you, but I've been speaking English my entire life, and I never realized there was a difference. Apparently it has to do with where the whiskey is distilled and how it's distilled. Anyways, Isabelle also explains how much she enjoys whiskey, which, along with the fact that she works 24/7, may suggest that she's an alcoholic. Timmy and Tommy are adopted. This is more so fact than theory. Timmy and Tommy are the twin apprentices of Tom Nook. Tom explains it to the player that he thinks of them as pupils and himself as a mentor. He wants to teach them about good economic principles in order to stop them from suffering like he did as a young businessman. Although not related by blood, some villagers will tell of a rumor that Tom Nook found them in the streets and felt bad for them, so he raised them by hand. Rossetti makes kids cry. This is something that actually happened. Ever since the first game, Rossetti's forceful tone and constant anger has made young children cry. This led to warnings being left in the manuals of Wild World and City Folk, and him being completely optional in New Leaf, before being removed in New Horizons. Goodbye, Rossetti. You will be missed. Mythological creature villagers. There's a surprising number of mythological creatures in Animal Crossing. You know, obviously you've got Tom Nook, who's a Tanuki, you got Red, the Kitsune, you got Cap'n, the Cap'n, then there's the villagers, Drago the Dragon, Phoebe the Phoenix, Hans the Yeti, and Julian the Unicorn, to name a few. All very cool looking villagers, but that's about it for this one. Alien TV broadcast, or 3:33 AM. In both Animal Crossing New Leaf and New Horizons, under the right circumstances, the player can find a creepy alien broadcast. The aliens are nowhere to be found in the game except for this message, and although they are probably just an Easter egg by Nintendo, what if they real? Source of the balloons. Ever since the first Animal Crossing game, one way of getting items was to shoot down floating gift boxes held up by balloons. But where were these presents coming from? Is there someone out there just packing up couches and floating them into the air? Villagers that aren't animals. There are only a handful of villagers that aren't animals at all, like not even mythological ones. There's Rabot and Sprocket, which are both animal-like robots. There's mystical creatures like Farley and Serena, snowmen and spirits such as Jack and Wisp, but that's about it. Wanted posters. In Animal Crossing GameCube, at the back of the police station, there's a wanted poster for 2 individuals. But who are they? They don't look like any villagers. Well, I mean, this one could be an owl, but the one to the right is clearly human of some description. Some think that the owl figure is based on Booster from Super Mario RPG, and when compared, they are similar. The one on the right, however, no one knows. The go-to answer is just a generic Disney mouse character due to the circles above her head, but Nintendo made this game. Why would they include a random reference to a non-obvious Disney character? Personally, I think that it's likely the posters depict other villagers in very generic forms. So, for example, I think the left one is maybe an owl villager, and the right one possibly a mouse. Now, there isn't a mouse villager with that long flowing hair, but Anacotti, Bree, and Brocolo have long enough hair, so maybe it's them? Boondocks. Boondocks is a town located to the north of the player's town in Wild World. The name Boondocks is referring to the word boondocks, which means an uncivilized, poor area. Pelly or Phyllis will first inform the player of this town and ask them to make a donation. According to them, Boondocksians just eat grilled cheese, but since there's no cheese or bread, they're forced to eat fried dirt without ketchup. After a certain number of donations, one of the Pelicans will inform the player that Boondocksians are making a well for mud bats and that tiny Tommy Hicks will finally have a proper 5th birthday. The player will also receive feathers after a certain amount of money is donated. The player can continue donating until Boondocks becomes a thriving city called Boondopolis. You can never visit Boondocks or Boondopolis, however, and it's never shown to the player, so some have come to believe that the town is fake. Along with this, there's also a slight chance that cranky villagers might say they've heard Totodile muttering something like, "I'm having a steak tonight," or that he's installing a brand new plasma TV after the player starts making donations. The player will occasionally receive letters from Boondocksians. In one such letter, the line, "My turtle is better," is used, which could be in reference to Totodile, as he's a turtle. If that wasn't obvious already, it could also possibly be that Totodile is taking the money the player donates and has made up this whole Boondock story. That sneaky motherfucker, I never trusted those eyes. Brutus the Bulldog. Brutus the Bulldog was a supposedly evil villager present in Animal Crossing GC. Unlike other villagers, Brutus would show up in your town for one night, wreak havoc, such as chopping down trees, kidnapping villagers, and then leaving the next night. Brutus was said to be a purple bulldog with red eyes and a black shirt with the letter B on it. He would apparently only speak in binary, and he would completely erase the player's save if you attempted to speak to him. And if you dared enter his house, it would crash the game. There's much more to the Brutus rumor that I haven't mentioned. For example, Brutus was said to do multiple things that mess with you, such as sending letters in binary, crashing the GameCube. Some even say he kidnapped your favorite villagers, not just any villagers, and was able to grant bad luck on specific dates. On that date, the player would constantly trip over and get more wasp entries rather than bells, but there's no evidence of Brutus anywhere, except for one supposed screenshot. It has been lost to the internet, but many disregard this as a hoax. Personally, it gives me similar vibes as Herobrine, that being the early days of the internet when rumors on games were spread like wildfire. Animal Crossing Pioneer Program. Coming up to the US release of Animal Crossing, Nintendo held a contest to get people excited about the game's release. You had to fill out a form explaining why you deserve to win in just under 50 words. The players would then get an early copy of the game along with a poster and a letter from Nintendo. In the end, about 125 teams of 2 won the contest and received their copies early. The real mystery, however, is what is contained on these discs. Although Pioneers have come out and said there's no major differences, that doesn't mean that there's nothing subtle. These copies were sent out about a month before release, and winners had direct contact with the localization team. Now, one Pioneer has said that the localization didn't get changed, but I think there might be more hidden on this disc. The problem with trying to find out is that these discs are so rare and are likely never to be sold. But I mean, who knows, maybe Brutus is on there. Bergsala Summer DS. I don't know why this is even on the iceberg, but if you haven't seen this already, it's these beautiful DSs that were given away as part of a Swedish competition. There were supposedly 4 of these DSs. We only have photos of the spring and winter ones, however, and I don't know about the summer and autumn ones. Whoa, slow down there, buddy. Big news, breaking news. We actually just found the Bergsalas. I don't know why we said we on it. Anyways, they found the Summer DS. It's right here. It's real. Strange because unlike the other ones, which are based on, I think, concept art or something from City Folk and Wild World art, this one is actually a variation of that and not the same artwork as the rest of them, which is weird. But when you look at what the artwork should be technically and what it actually ended up being, it's a lot better in my opinion. But we fucking have it. It's here. This couldn't have been timed more perfectly. Like, I'm editing this video as we speak and this just came out, so like, wow. But yeah, now we have all 4 DSs, and also apparently there was 2 sets of them because some of the dates and some of the ways people have these DSs don't exactly line up. So a lot of people believe that there wasn't just 1 set of these DSs made, but 2, which is really interesting because I would love to get my hands on these someday. They would probably cost me a small fortune, but I mean, look at them. They're fucking cool as hell. Ica Village. In Animal Crossing New Leaf, a building called the Dream Suite was introduced. It allowed the player to visit others' towns over Wi-Fi without any other players there. Players quickly began to show off their towns, but one player, Garaku, decided to use the Dream Suite to tell a story. This story instantly became known all over the Animal Crossing community. So now, let me tell you the story of Ica Village.
On a Friday night yet.
You awaken in a seemingly perfect area with a doll at your feet. Looking around, you're standing on a weird black and white static-like texture, surrounded by trees with perfect peaches hanging from them. There's another person standing with you, a small child wearing all red. Her name? Ica. She tells you, "This is inside my dream." Heading north, you are greeted by the first house. Inside, you are presented with a scene of a birthday party. 3 people are gathered around a birthday cake. One is Ica, the other 2 are unknown. In the back of the scene, there's a door blocked off by a drawer that can't be moved. Upstairs, you find what seems to be a play area with 3 paintings and the same doll you received earlier. These paintings depict Ica's family, one of Ica's family members, and a dog. Continuing over the bridge, the perfect area from earlier begins to change. Bushes are scattered everywhere, and there's junk and sweets scattered carelessly across the ground. Arriving at the town hall, you find a picture of Ica's family above an icon. Just to the east of that, a graveyard, with each grave filled by a doll. Side note, in earlier versions of Ica Village, there was apparently dog houses accompanying the graves, which could suggest that
You think you got what it takes?
that the family member was searching for the dog. However, since it was changed, maybe the developer did that on purpose, so just putting that out there. Further south, you find the second house. Inside is a maze of green text signs and stools, along with Ica. She says, "Your voice reaches no one." Taking the right exit, you find a dark room filled with owl clocks ticking left and right between two statues, one of an angel and the other a devil. Scattered across the floor are bags of items, red shoes, balloons, as well as a large flower. Taking the left exit, you remember the bright room filled with spinning wheels. In the center is a doll, looking over a shark tank, with the statue of a woman behind her. The walls and floors of this room are covered with seemingly random patterns. Taking the north exit, you remember the dark room filled with stuffed toys facing away from the entrance. You look around to see two paintings of eyes watching over the dolls, ominously. Upstairs, you find an idyllic depiction of the creation of sin from the Bible, complete with a snake and apple. Downstairs, you find a banquet of dolls with a plentiful supply of delicious food. However, looking behind the little red doll, she holds an axe. That is all for the second house. Returning outside, you maneuver through a field of rotten turnips, dead bamboo shoots, and dead saplings. This new landscape is the most similar to the original perfect scene, with water fountains and trees, but this time, they are much less organized, and this is reflected when Aika says, "This scenery was always impure." Next, you continue into the third house, and inside, you are greeted by the same doll. This time, however, she isn't holding the axe behind her, but out front and center. She is surrounded by a maze of bookshelves. Inside this maze, you find a portrait of Aika and her family member. On the opposite side, you find a second portrait of Aika, but this time with all of her family. Taking the right exit, you map to a rundown room, filled with eggs and a grand piano in the center. Through the north exit, you find a room with two diaries encased in the middle. Torn out pages are scattered across the floor, and hidden in the corner is a small music box. Continuing upstairs, you find a room filled with furniture, all covered in portraits of Aika's family and family members. The doll sits in silence, staring soullessly into the TV. Downstairs, you find a similar room filled with furniture. The doll is facing a small pram, and there's a bed in the center of the room with an outline on it, marking a dead body. And that's all for House 3. Back outside, you continue upwards to find an area almost identical to the layout of the beginning area. There is much less trash here, and all that remains is house number 4 and Aika. She delivers her final message. This fun dream is soon ending. Walking inside, you're presented with the same room as the beginning, except now, rubbish is thrown everywhere, and the drawer at the back, which once blocked off an exit, is now moved. Continuing north, you are led into the room containing Aika and a doll trapped in the center, surrounded by heads, all facing towards them. Upstairs, you return to Aika's bedroom to find the paintings have been changed. Aika has been removed as well as the dog and her family members. The doll is now holding an axe, like we saw in House 3, and all the dolls are facing away. Lastly, you continue down to the beach, where you find a pair of red shoes by the shoreline. Walking back up the beach, we find 4 leaf clovers. Crossing over the waterfall, we find several offerings left at a grave. Buried within the grave is a skeleton, time capsule, and little red doll. There are many theories about the story of Aika Village, and initially people thought it was very simple, about an evil doll that killed Aika's family, but I don't think the story is as simple as that. Personally, certain details stick out to me and hint at this being much more deep and complex than originally thought. The creator himself has said that there is no true ending to Aika Village, so I'm gonna do a bit of theorizing. Alright, this is off script. I'm not gonna read the script. I have nothing written here. We're going off script for this part. Okay. Let's examine the evidence of Aika Village. What do we know for certain? Okay. First off, some pretty big indicators. At the end, we saw those red shoes by the shore, which in Japan is common culture to take off your shoes before committing suicide. And since they're next to the ocean, it can be implied that somebody killed themselves. And who else wears red shoes but Aika? Okay, well, if we presume that Aika killed herself, we have a lot of explaining to do as how the hell that happened. It's very hard to piece together the first few houses. The first one obviously depicts, a perfect scene. You got her with her family having the birthday, and either she received this doll or she's had this doll before. but the doll has been there since the start. That's the constant. Along with these paintings of, you know, her family, and the dog. The dog never really plays a part, so I don't know how crucial the dog is. And since Garaku removed the dog houses by the graves, I think maybe he wanted people to stop focusing on the dog. So, yeah, let's take it from that angle. Thinking about house 3, or is it house 2? I think it's house 2 with all the lights. Okay, actually, if we go to the house with the stools and but then in the room on the left, you have bright colors, random spinners, the doll looking over a shark with the mother with a figure behind them. This could suggest panic, and maybe that the red doll could represent Aika. Right? Okay, hear me out. Red doll represents Aika, and in that moment, she's feeling pressured from someone, from an outside source, to make a big decision, right? That means the shark. And all the flashing colors, the spinning wheels, it represents the stress or like panic she was feeling. Again, you could point this back to the ticking clocks, and then also upstairs with the depiction of sin. Hold on, what's it? The idyllic depiction of creation of sin from the Bible. That also, you know, represents person making the wrong choice. And down, I think, hold on. I'm getting brainwaves. I got it. Every room in that house is mirrored. So the left and right room, they're mirrors of each other. And this makes sense. Like I said earlier, the left room is about choice of a big decision. So is the right room. It's ticking between good and evil, trying to figure out which decision to make. And all the red represents either Aika or the franticness of trying to decide. Upstairs, you got a creation of the fucking sin from the Bible, and downstairs, you got a doll about to betray people. It's exactly the same. They're mirrored. I'm a goddamn genius. As for the rest of the village, I don't know. What's really, really fucking with me is that maze of bookcases. That one's throwing me off. I have no idea what that was about. But I think really, in the end, if I had to sum up everything I've been thinking through, I would say Aika Village, it's an incredibly well-made fan story. It really gives you a lot to work with, and the fact that the author himself has left the book open, so to speak, it gives the freedom that it has had. I think that's really what made it take off. Why am I saying this? Next fucking point. Animal Crossing 2. At E3 2004, Nintendo showed off a video of what will become Wild World. However, the gameplay shown off is much more similar to the GameCube style of Animal Crossing. This is because it was a planned sequel to Animal Crossing that was early in development. We know very little about this game. All we have is E3 footage along with 2 screenshots, one of the player next to it.
On a Friday night yet.
3, 2, 1, go! 3, 2, 1, go! Three, two, one, go! on day. On day.
Bell Shrine, which replaces the Wishing Well and is the Japanese exclusive, Dobutsu no Mori feature of Animal Crossing. Also, Ace and Anakati are shown having a picnic. We know this is a screenshot of Animal Crossing 2 and not Dobutsu no Mori E+, however, because Anakati is using the international symbol for laughter and not the Japanese one. The other screenshots simply show their player by their house, with Peaches nearby. The game was likely ported to DS and reworked into Wild World, or was simply scrapped in favor of Wild World. Abel's sister's parents. If you remember from earlier, we talked about Tom Nook's backstory. Well, it's time for round 2, baby! The clothing shop Abel's Sisters was originally run by the parents of Sable, Label, and Mabel, until a fatal accident left the sisters parentless. Shortly after their parents' death, Label and Sable got into an argument which led to Label leaving home for a new life in the big city. Sable was left to raise Mabel all by herself. We also learned that Mabel was too young to even remember her parents or sister Label before she left. Add on to this the fact that Sable's closest friend Tom Nook also left for the big city, and she really has had a hard life. Better, but I need more! Keeping with tradition, we have KK Synth. Now, unlike the previous 2 songs, this one is a lot more electronic sounding, but it still has those creepy vibes, especially with this section right here. I don't know why, but something about this sounds sad or ominous to me. Animal Crossing cures depression. I mean, sure, it's a nice, peaceful, slice of life game. Sure, why not? Anti-government Animal Crossing ban. This was really interesting. So, during the Hong Kong protests, people would just protest on the streets, but then, the whole happened. So they had to come up with a new way to protest, and they chose Animal Crossing. People started putting up paintings across their islands with messages like, "Free Hong Kong, Revolution Now." All this rioting led to the game being banned and taken off shelves in China and Hong Kong. Animal Crossing is a child labor cult. Okay, so this one is like Brutus. It's a rumor that's been floating around since the game's birth, and basically states that Tom Nook is using the player and other players to do work for him. He uses bells as currency and puts on a show with villagers and such. However, when researching this, I somehow stumbled upon a fanfiction that takes all these ideas along with some other ideas and combines them all together into this big 15-chapter story, which took me way too long to read. In short, the story revolves around a young, happy lad who believes he is going off to a fantastic adventures at summer camp, named Billy. This camp turns out to be Wild World, and when he realizes he can't escape, it suddenly becomes an episode of Survivor and Billy must fend for his life. Gyroids become a center plot point and have some power to turn children into animals. This process is called Animal Crossing. See what you did there? Then yada yada yada, Tom Nook is married to a mouse with cancer who is now a crazy dictator, and bam, that's pretty much it. As much as I am joking, I did actually enjoy reading through it. The creator obviously poured a lot of time and effort into it. I mean, we got fully drawn scenes, audio readings, 2 endings, and a fully animated fight scene. Summarizing the whole thing would not do it justice, so I'll be doing a live reading of it on stream on YouTube at this date, the date shown above. I don't know when it's going to be, but it should be either the Wednesday or Friday after this is posted, so yeah, there it is. You should come check it out. We're going to have a good time, we're going to read the story, we're going to watch the fight scene. Anyways, speaking of gyroids... Gyroid sounds. Gyroids themselves are weird little statues you can place in your house in all Animal Crossing games. What makes them creepy though are 2 main things: the sounds they make and the way you get them. Gyroids are primarily found buried underground, and some of their sounds resemble drowning or screaming. Gyroids are based on
埴輪
figures, which were statues made for ritual use and buried with the dead as funerary objects during the Kofun period of Japan. This could indicate that they mark dead bodies hidden under the Animal Crossing soil, or that they themselves contain the souls of deceased villagers. Animal Crossing's Purgatory. This theory suggests that you, the player, are actually dead. Many people regard Purgatory as a place of punishment, but others understand it as a sort of waiting room a soul stays before entering heaven. It is in the second interpretation that your character resides. You are driven to Purgatory by a car or train depending on the game. You take your most innocent form, a child, and are placed in a town populated with cute, friendly, talking animals. The perfect environment to keep you calm. Your character is clearly unaware that they have died, and this is something your own personal Purgatory seeks to hide from you. Why? Because your character is not in heaven yet, and isn't safe from suffering heartache and other traumas from the knowledge that they have passed away. This is also why there's so much to do, fossils, fishing, bugs, to keep you from getting bored. Coco and Stitches are dead. Coco is a rabbit villager whose face resembles a gyroid. As previously mentioned, the gyroids are based off statues for the dead. Her in-game description reads, "She has empty black eyes and a mouth with a hollow head." What? Stitches is another villager with a creepy appearance. She's an orange teddy bear with stitches for eyes and a body made up of fabric. Both these villagers look as if they're dead, and according to their descriptions, I guess they are! Dodos. If you didn't know, the dodo is an extinct flightless bird that was endemic to the island of Mauritius, east of Madagascar in the Indian Ocean. But you see, in Animal Crossing, there's a dodo villager. Ooh. Tortimer is a puppet figure. I don't know what they mean by this. Like, maybe this is in reference to another theory on the iceberg that Tom Nook is behind everything, as in Tortimer is just a puppet for Tom Nook to use. But I did find this cool little figure of Tortimer on Pinterest, so you can call me an investigative journalist. Frizzlord passed away. Frizzlord is a special character that was first introduced in City Folk, where he appears in the marquee, taking Dr. Trunk's place on rare occasions. In one of these performances, we learn that he's 110 years old. This wouldn't have meant much until the New Horizons Direct came out. In that trailer, people spotted a gravestone in the background, and speculation went wild. Originally, people thought it might be Tortimer or Joan, since she was replaced by Daisy May. However, by the game's release, both of these options were ruled out. Frizzlord, however, never appeared in New Horizons, meaning the grave could belong to him. Haunted paintings. In Animal Crossing New Horizons, Red will arrive on your island and sell you paintings. However, not all of them are real. Now the only way to tell the difference is to have a PhD in art history, or I guess you could buy it and interact with it. Yeah. Some fake art acts weird and has been deemed as haunted. For instance, a portrait may open its eyes or a statue may float. These oddities only appear when interacting with the object at night, however. One of the creepiest examples, in my opinion, has to be the back of the graceful paintings, in which you can see a human-shaped stain, as if the canvas itself is possessed. Humans are second-class citizens. This could be in reference to two things. One is the fact that you can buy a human skeleton, but this skeleton is much too tall to be the same as the player's, meaning the player isn't human. Also, we never see a character whose description fits this skeleton, so where these came from is a mystery. Maybe the human skeleton is similar to dinosaurs in the fact that it's a fossil now. Or if we assume the player is human, then it might be the fact that Tom Nook charges the player for their house and has to pay off constant debt, unlike other villagers. Ho 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 baby, now that was a good lair. But I still have questions, and there's only one place left to go. You heard me right, baby, we're heading right down to the underbelly. KK Dirge. And finally, the creepiest Animal Crossing song of all, KK Dirge. Right off the bat, dirge means a lament for the dead, especially one forming part of a funeral rite. So, no subtlety here, this is just straight up a song for the dead. Way to be subtle there, KK, way to be subtle. Listening to this song, it starts out with nothing but a single note for the first 2 seconds, before being accompanied by what sounds like deep harmonic chanting. We then hear some electronic sounds and a busy sound that constantly grows louder, until peaking and fading away. The song appears to continue on normally, but is suddenly interrupted by 2 clashes of a metallic object. Followed by someone holding a low note, and then the song repeats. This is definitely the creepiest KK song and gives off cult vibes. The chanting, the ominous sounds, the clashing of metallic objects makes it seem, to me at least, like some sort of execution or ritual. Creepy Kurlos dialogue. Kurlos is a villager first introduced in Dobutsuna Mori E+ as a cranky islander. His personality type changed in New Leaf to smug. Fast forward to New Horizons, and there's a chance that Kurlos will tell you about his workout mishap in his basement, commenting that nobody can hear you scream from your basement. This is an incredibly creepy line to leave into an Animal Crossing game, especially from one of the villagers. The thing is though, this isn't exclusive to Kurlos. This dialogue often can be said by any of the smug villagers. Why would they include this? And why is it every smug villager? Do they all just have a basement that nobody can hear them scream from? Oh shit, that's a theory in itself. Zipper T Bunny. Zipper is a really weird character in Animal Crossing. Unlike any other villagers, Zipper actually has a zipper on his back. It's where he gets his name. He gets aggressive if the player mentions it and denies that it's a suit. However, this has just made more people theorize that it is a suit. But what might be underneath? Well, something is Phyllis due to their shared habit of making asides and grayed out text and how much they dislike their job. However, Phyllis and Zipper can be at the same place at the same time, so that pretty much disproves that theory. Others think he's Tortimer, but he can be disproved the same way. Maybe there's something much darker under that bunny suit. Maybe Zipper is in fact some sort of horrific monster or creature. Or possibly another player, just like you. Gulliver is a failed murder victim. Gulliver is a flightless seagull villager that's found washed up on your shore randomly. He explains that he fell off a ship, and his crew is dismissive of him. This could suggest that he didn't fall, but was pushed overboard. New Leaf 7 PM Negative Aura. This one also talks about negative aura and wet dry, where I mean 7 PM music in New Leaf, yeah. Personally, I don't feel it, I don't hear it, but I mean, I kind of understand what they mean. The repeating sounds, the clip-clop in the background could give it that vibe, but look at any other song from New Leaf. They all start to repeat. Those songs always drag out over an hour, so I don't really feel the negative aura here. Tell me if you guys do. Wisp's Master. Wisp is a special spirit character who's a simple white ghost, roughly the same height as the player. What he was before he became a ghost host is unknown and up to speculation. When Wisp arrives in the player's village, they must catch spirits with their nest for a reward. Wisp said he works for an organization and will mutter something about a master and what he will do if his spirits aren't recovered. Little is known about Wisp's boss, other than he's a very scary person whom Wisp is afraid of. He appears to be violent, beating Wisp up after he fails to return the 5 spirits in, oh god, Hoinda Mura Deori, the Animal Crossing manga. Chestnut. Chestnut is a beta character in Animal Crossing GameCube. She can only be accessed by using an action replay code. She appears as a squirrel with blue eyes and a turquoise dress. Digging around the code, we find that her texture and model refers to her as XSQ, which likely means extra squirrel. However, in the game's code, she is called ACEV Dokutu. That can be broken down to Action Event Dokutu. Characters with EV in their name are traveling characters like Crazy Red, Sahara, or Joan. Dokuto. Dokuto? I'm just gonna keep butchering it over and over again. Most likely is shorthand for Dokutoru, which means doctor in Japanese, as strings before her name in Dobutsu no Mori Plus include sick and patient. These things point to her being a traveling doctor of sorts. She may also have healed a player if they happen to get stung by a bee on that day, since medicine wasn't introduced until Wild World. She was likely cut though due to uninteresting or useless mechanics, or just time constraints. Beta items. Oh boy, it's time for the beta items. They my favorite part. There's not a lot of cover, so let's go.